Captain Arya Thane had survived 3 interstellar wars, negotiated peace with the Zarvathian horde, and once piloted a damaged freighter through a collapsing wormhole. Nothing in her decorated military career, however, had prepared her for this moment. 500 pairs of eyes, glowing amber, crimson, violet, and every shade between, stared at her from the massive ceremonial hall. 500 cubs of the Krinthax Empire, each one capable of tearing through reinforced steel with their claws before reaching adolescence. And according to the translator device now smoking in her hand, all 500 had just chosen her as their new parent. There must be some mistake, Arya said, her voice echoing across the vaulted chamber. The Krinthax matriarch, a towering figure with obsidian scales and wings that could blot out stars, shook her massive head. The selection ceremony has never failed in 10,000 years, human. The cubs have spoken. You are now their Varketh, their chosen guardian. Arya's mind raced. She had come to the Krinthax homeworld as a diplomatic envoy, not a parent. The Krinthax were the Empire's most formidable warriors, bred for combat from birth. Their cubs underwent the selection at age 5, choosing a guardian who would train them until maturity. Typically, each cub selected a different warrior. Never had all the cubs chosen the same being. Never had any chosen a human. Why? Arya whispered, though she hadn't meant to speak aloud. A single cub stepped forward from the mass. He was larger than the others, with midnight black scales and eyes like molten gold. The crowd parted respectfully as he approached. I am Corvex, the cub announced, his voice surprisingly deep for one so young. I am eldest among my brethren. I speak for all. Arya knelt to meet his gaze. Despite his youth, intelligence burned in those golden eyes, ancient and calculating. Captain Thane, Corvex continued, we have studied your species for 3 cycles. We have analyzed your wars, your tactics, your survival instincts. The Krinthax are born strong, yes. But you humans, you are born weak and become strong. This fascinates us. Weak? Arya raised an eyebrow. Your bodies break easily. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no venom. You should have perished millennia ago. Corvex tilted his head, a gesture oddly reminiscent of a curious Earth predator. Yet you conquered your world. You reached the stars. You defeated enemies far stronger than yourselves. How? Arya thought carefully before responding. Adaptation, innovation, stubbornness mostly. Stubbornness, Corvex repeated, testing the word. Yes, we have seen your battlefield recordings. When your soldiers fall, they rise. When your ships are destroyed, you build more. When faced with extinction, you refuse to accept it. This is what we wish to learn. The other cubs chittered in agreement, a sound like wind through razor grass. We are strong, Corvex said, spreading his clawed hands. But strength alone does not ensure survival. The universe is vast and cruel. We must learn to be more than weapons. We must learn to be human. Arya blinked. You don't actually want to become human, though. No. Corvex's expression, if it could be called that, seemed almost amused. We wish to add your strengths to ours, to become something greater. The Krinthax have ruled through power for eons, but power without wisdom is merely violence. You humans understand this. The matriarch approached, her footsteps shaking the floor. The decision is made, Captain Thane. Will you accept the honor, or will you refuse and bring shame upon these younglings? Arya looked across the sea of waiting faces. 500 of the galaxy's most dangerous predators waiting for her answer. She thought of her own childhood on Earth, raised by a single mother who worked 3 jobs to keep them fed. She thought of the drill sergeants who had shaped her into a soldier, the mentors who had taught her that strength came in many forms. If I accept, Arya said slowly, I do this my way. Human way? The matriarch's eyes narrowed. Explain. No traditional Krinthax combat training until they master the basics. Mathematics, strategy, history, philosophy, engineering, medicine. They'll learn to fight. Yes, but they'll also learn why to fight, and when not to. The hall erupted in protests from the adult Krinthax warriors lining the walls. The matriarch raised a wing, commanding silence. You would make our warriors into scholars? Her voice was dangerous. I would make them into thinking warriors, Arya corrected. The deadliest opponent isn't the strongest, it's the smartest. Ask any human who's ever won against impossible odds. Corvex's golden eyes gleamed.
I accept these terms.
We all do. The cubs roared their agreement, a sound that made Arya's bones vibrate. The matriarch studied Arya for a long moment, then lowered her head in a gesture of respect. Very well, Varketh Thane. But know this, if you fail them, if even one cub falls due to your methods, the consequences will be severe. Understood. Arya stood, squaring her shoulders. When do we start? Now, Korvek said, and suddenly Arya was surrounded by 500 curious, deadly, eager young faces, all chattering questions in a dozen languages. One at a time. Arya shouted, then laughed despite herself. She pulled out her personal tablet, already formulating lesson plans in her head. All right, listen up. First rule of being human. We work together. Second rule, we never stop learning. Third rule, bedtime is at 2200 hours. Non-negotiable. The cub stared at her in confusion. That last one's going to be interesting to enforce, Arya muttered, as she led her new charges toward what the Krinthax had designated as her training facility. Arya Thane realized she had just accepted the most challenging mission of her life. 500 of the galaxy's deadliest beings would soon carry human wisdom alongside Krinthax strength. The universe, she thought with a grim smile, had no idea what was coming. Neither did she.